When the Summer House Season 9 reunion rolled around, Paige DeSorbo didn't shy away from getting real about her messy breakup with Craig Conover. It was clear from the start that this wasn't going to be a simple, "we're done" conversation. Paige, 32, took the opportunity during part 1 of the reunion, airing on Wednesday, May 28th, to unpack everything that had happened between her and Craig, who is 36 ever since they called it quits in late 2024. The whole situation had a lot of layers, and Paige was ready to peel them back for the fans who had been watching every twist and turn unfold. One of the biggest points Paige made was her skepticism about Craig's claim that he bought her an engagement. She was blunt and didn't hold back when she said, "That ring does not exist." This wasn't just a small detail, it was a symbol of the whole relationship's breakdown. She explained that Craig never even took the traditional step of asking her father for her hand in marriage, which in her eyes was a clear sign that the ring story was just a front. To Paige, it all felt like something Craig said to keep up appearances rather than something real or genuine. It was a moment that really showed how hurt and confused she was about what had actually happened behind closed doors. Host Andy Cohen, who was leading the reunion, jumped in with a reminder that Craig himself had said on a March episode of Watch What Happens Live that he just returned the ring during a visit to New York City. But Paige wasn't buying into that explanation at all. She called the timing of the return suspiciously convenient, pointing out that Craig's return to the show and the alleged ring return seemed to happen on the exact same day. She said with a hint of disbelief and sarcasm, "Him and his new girlfriend went and returned my ring? I don't think so, Andy, that's insane." This comment wasn't just about the ring. It was about Craig moving on quickly with his new girlfriend, Natalie Buffett, and how that made Paige feel about the whole breakup and its aftermath. Paige also took issue with the idea that Craig could just return what he called a custom ring so easily. She raised a skeptical eyebrow and said, "No one's letting you return a custom ring a year later." It was a pointed comment about how unrealistic Craig's story sounded, and it added another layer of doubt to the whole situation. Paige's disbelief suggested that this ring was more of a story Craig told than an actual item he ever bought, and she wanted the world to know that she wasn't going to let that narrative stand without question. But the reunion wasn't only about Paige and Craig's complicated relationship drama. Other members of the Summer House cast also opened up about their own romantic ups and downs, showing that this season's drama stretched far beyond just one couple, Lexi Wood and Jesse. Solomon took the stage to talk about their summer fling, a relationship that had its own share of sparks, awkward moments. Meanwhile, Kara Miller and West Wilson revisited their breakup from 2023, reflecting on how things had ended and how they had grown since then. It was a reminder that while Paige and Craig's story was front and center, the emotional roller coaster was something many cast members were riding. Paige gave fans a candid look into the nature of her relationship with Craig, one that wasn't black and white, but full of back and forth moments. She explained, "Craig and I have had this conversation a year. It's not like one day I woke up and was like, I think I'll be single today." Paige revealed that their breakup wasn't a sudden decision, but rather a process they'd been working through for months. "We actually broke up last February 2024 for like a full weekend. Then we talked, got back together." This back and forth dynamic showed how complex and layered their relationship really was, something far from a simple breakup. As a co-host of the Giggly Squad podcast, Paige was used to discussing complicated emotions, and she was open about how the relationship wasn't a smooth, clean It wasn't smooth sailing where one day I was like, "See ya?" "We've had these conversations over and over and over," she admitted. It was clear that the decision to end things wasn't made lightly or quickly, but rather was something that both of them struggled with repeatedly over time. Her transparency here helped fans understand that relationships, especially ones in the public eye, can be messy and complicated. Finally, Paige emphasized just how much effort she put into trying to make the breakup as respectful and drama-free as possible. She said, "She did everything in my power to avoid a breakup where it's team me or team him." In other words, she wanted to keep things civil and not turn their split into a messy battle of sides. However, she also confessed that Craig wasn't going to let me go easy. This revealed the tension and emotional struggle that underpinned their breakup. Paige clearly wanted a peaceful resolution, but it wasn't easy to get there. Her openness gave a raw and relatable glimpse into the challenges of ending a long-term relation, especially when feelings and pride are still tangled up. Paige also took a moment to reflect on how public their relation and how that complicated complicated everything. Being in the spotlight comes with a lot of pressure, and she admitted it wasn't always easy to separate their private. The cameras. When you're constantly in front of an audience, every argument, every happy moment, it's magnified, she explained. It adds this extra layer of stress because you're not just figuring things out for yourself, you're trying to navigate other people's opinions and expectations too. For Paige, this made the breakup even more intense, as she had to deal not only with her own feelings, but also with the eyes of the world watching every move. The reunion also gave Craig a chance to share his side of the story. And while Paige was firm in her feelings, it was clear that both of them were trying to process what had happened in their own way. Craig admitted on the show that things between them had been complicated and that he struggled with how to handle the transition from being partners to coexisting as friends, especially with shared history and mutual friends involved. It's hard to go from everything to almost nothing overnight, he said. We had good times, but the breakup was rough, and it's been a process figuring out how to move forward without burning bridges. His honesty added a different perspective, reminding viewers that breakups can be painful for both people involved. Meanwhile, the dynamic between Craig and his new girlfriend, Natalie Buffett, was also a hot topic during the Paige's comments about Natalie returning the ring alongside Craig didn't just stir the pot, they sparked conversation about how quickly Craig seemed to have moved on. Fans and cast members alike were curious about how Paige was really feeling about this new relationship and the way it intersected with their breakup. Paige didn't hold back her frustration, but also acknowledged that moving on is part of life, even if it's painful to watch someone you once loved start a new chapter so publicly. It's tough, but I'm focusing on myself now, she said, with a determined smile. I want to grow, learn, and be happy, no matter what anyone else is doing. One of the more poignant moments of the reunion was when Paige talked about the emotional toll the breakup took on her, beyond just the public drama and relationship drama. She opened up about how hard it was to let go of the future she had imagined with Craig, one filled with shared dreams, plans, and hopes that now had to be rewritten. It's heartbreaking to realize that the life you pictured with someone isn't going to happen the way you thought, she confessed. But I've learned that sometimes growth means letting go, even when it hurts, and trusting that what's next will be better. Her vulnerability in that moment resonated with many viewers who have faced similar painful endings in their own lives. Finally, as the reunion wrapped up, Paige looked ahead with a sense of optimism and strength. Despite the heartbreak and the messy public fallout, she made it clear that she's ready to embrace whatever. I'm proud of how far I've come, she said confidently. This isn't just about moving on from Craig, it's about moving forward with myself, being true to who I am, and creating a life that makes me happy. I'm excited for the future, whatever it holds. That sense of empowerment left the audience with a hopeful note, reminding everyone that even when relationships end, there's always a new beginning waiting just around the corner.